This video is on how to select your perfect hunting weapon. Now I'm going off my personal experience, so depending on where you live, what your terrain's like, what your local laws are like, will definitely affect how you make your decision. So if you're coming onto this video, it's a really good idea to check out a whole bunch of videos on the topic to get the full story, and then make your selection from there. So I'm going to weigh in with my personal experience, and maybe it'll help you make your decision. So first things first, you have to decide what type of hunter are you. Your two basics, and they do break down the idea of the perfect hunting experience, and I'm talking about deer, would be people, their idea of the perfect hunting experience, and I'm talking about deer, would be walk out to your stand at 5:30 in the morning before it gets light out, get your rifle ready, get your little Mr. Heater going, get some coffee, maybe scroll on your phone and wait till hunting season opens up. That is the dream. That is what they love doing. They love just being out in the wild and hearing the noise, and basically my dad. Then your second type of hunter, me, my idea is sit in my car until the exact moment when hunting season starts, and then you just walk. You sneak through the woods as quietly as you can, and you basically ambush, well, you can't say ambush deer because they'd actually be ambushing you, but sneaking up on them. It's a surprise meeting, real fast paced. So after you determine what type of hunter you are, now it'll break down into subcategories. Like you got your standards that go way extreme. They throw a whole day's worth of gear on their back, their rifle on their back. They'll hike like 4 or 5 miles out to, my uncle does this in Montana. Hike like 4 or 5 miles out to their position, then they sit in their position, wait for that perfect animal that they've been scouting out all year round to come through their area and take the kill. And then you got your different type of walkers. There's people that like just walk through tall grass, some that like to play in the marshlands, some that like to play in the woods where you have nice long firing lanes, but it's still, you know, you're kicking them up out of the brush, so you kick them up out of the brush, but you still got like 5, 10, about 10 seconds would probably be the max, but you have time to make an aimed shot. And then obviously marsh, like your visibility is maybe 20 yards, maximum. When you kick them up, they're right in front of you, and you have like a half second to maybe 2 seconds to make a shot. So after you decide what type of hunter you are, you need to select a weapon that best has the advantages for your situation. So if you're gonna hike like a really long way, like my uncle up in Montana, and then expect to take like a 400 or 500 yard shot, it's gonna require a totally different weapon than if you were to walk through the marsh and shoot something at maybe 5 yards away. And you have to make a really precise shot very fast. You have no idea what kind of game you're gonna kick up. Now, for most, a semi-auto with a detachable magazine is the way to go. This particular rifle actually weighs quite a lot. This is not something I would want to carry for a very long distance. Now, if you were to go to a bolt action, like say the Mossberg Night Train, I'm not referencing this particular one, but you know, something with a fiberglass stock, I mean, you're going to be hiking miles. So you're going to be going through brush. If you were to carry a wood stock, it's going to get all scuffed up and look nasty unless you're to like throw it in a case and carry it the whole time. But this will give you an advantage of a very light stock, a very light rifle overall. Throw your scope on there, detachable magazine. And you can, with a bolt action over a semi-auto, typically speaking, you can get much larger calibers. This particular semi-auto, you can get this in 300 Win Mag. So I mean that this is the exception to the rule. This isn't the rule. So that's why I'm not going to kind of really include that in there. So for bolt actions, you can get a more variety of calibers. Now, I wasn't really sure on exactly what divided the maximum range I would shoot a caliber in, but I knew there was a maximum range, and it was much farther than what the caliber is actually capable of. Well, I had just seen this video where they were doing a interview with Federal Ammunition, which I will link in the description and probably run a little card right here. But basically they go, and I totally agree with them. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of personal experience, like looking into ballistic jelly and stuff, but seeing, like who typically gets the kill and who typically don't. Obviously, no matter what, a clean shot is a clean shot. You hit the animal in the heart or in a solid vital, it doesn't matter if you do it with a crochet needle or you do it with a 50 BMG. The animal's going to die. But rifles give you a little bit more forgiveness because they have a wound cavity that acts different. It expands out, you get a bunch of ripping and tearing, and then it collapses back down. But anyway, federal ammunition, quote, 2,200 feet per second. That's where the divider happens. So anything under 2,200 feet per second, you don't get the advantages of a rifle. It acts more like a pistol cartridge. You're just punching holes. Over 2,200 feet per second, then you get the extreme tearing and massive damage.
Cavity, as we expand and recover from, is different when projectiles hit at greater than 2,200 feet a second. At that point, it appears we have surpassed the elasticity capability of human tissue, and that temporary wound cavity begins tearing at its limits and margins and becomes the permanent wound cavity. Byproduct of that also seems that when a rifle projectile at those velocities bypasses an organ, you will still have organic damage.
And I'm going to go with that. That's where I'm going to start basing anything on from that point. So, other than a shotgun, because a shotgun's different, most of your kinetic energy is stored in weight. I mean, you're shooting a 1-ounce projectile. And if you're in a state where they actually let you hunt with buckshot, then you get multiple projectiles. Yeah, they're still acting like pistol caliber projectiles, but there's just so many of them hitting the target at once. 12 or more, depending on, your shotgun and what type of load you use. It can do a lot of damage. So basically, 2,200 feet per second. That's where I'm drawing the line. I never liked AKs anyway, so who cares? I'm not going to count those as an acceptable hunting rifle. I mean, you can. I've seen people take deer with 7.62x39. My cousin uses one. He's used one the whole time I've been hunting, and he's taken way more game than I can ever shake a stick at. But that's because of his skill as a hunter. He could be out there with a 22 long rifle and he would still walk me. He's just better than me. It's what he does. And that weirdo sits at home and watches other people's hunting footage. It's just really not for me. But anyway, the point is, that goes down to his skill, not on the cartridge itself. So 223, about 200 yards. That's what's going to break the 2,200 feet per second. So the next part of hunting is, if you're a walker, what's your range going to be? And if you're a stander, what's your range going to be? Now, for walking, I strongly recommend you don't use a bolt-action rifle. There's a couple of different ways the bolt will function. So on the Savage, it's a 3-position safety. All the way forward, that's fire. Your bolt moves free. Then in the middle, that's unsafe, but your bolt still moves free. Then all the way back, locks your bolt. Now that position is important because if you were to walk with a bolt-action rifle, if it doesn't function that way, it's very easy for brush or something to come up and take it out of battery. Just a little bit. And then it's not going to... Well, that one still fires. It's just dropping the bolt. It's not actually firing it. And that makes quite a bit of noise, so then you're going to lose your shot. The next type of bolt-action rifle... You put it on safety, it locks the bolt, and then you can't fire. That sounds cool, right? It does exactly what you want. Plus, you don't have the third position to confuse you. Because if you were to see a deer in the heat of the moment, you might go to flip it off safety and only go one position forward. And now you can't fire, and you're like, okay, what's going on with the rifle? I did take it off safety, did I not? And you start playing with your safety, opportunity has missed you. 30-point buck is gone. But if you are not able to function your bolt with it on safety, now you have to put the rifle in dangerous condition. Say this didn't have where you could just dump the cartridges out. It was like the Savage where it's got an internal magazine. You would have to take it off safety and say it's a 5-shot. Once you take it off safety, you've put the rifle in a dangerous condition once. Now cycle the next one through. Now you put it in a dangerous condition twice. Yeah, you don't have to put the bolt down, but then you might have an extraction problem, jam it up. The point is, without having a firearm that can function the bolt with the safety on, it makes it more dangerous to unload. Then you got the Mossberg style, which you can always function the bolt, whether it's on safety or whether it's not. So this is very liable to be taken out of battery, missing your deer. And then the safety itself, you got your red dot system. To this day, and I shouldn't say a lot of experience with a rifle, but I have enough experience with a rifle. I still get confused by the red dot, no dot, where is safety on, where is safety off. I need to have a crossbar, or it needs to clearly be labeled fire and safe. It's just my preference. Now you could, I haven't seen it done, and I have a Scar 17, which has a pretty long charging handle. But you could potentially pull this out of battery, say your rifle's dirty and it doesn't slide right back into battery when the brush lets it go. Have your rifle disabled by being pushed on. Now, let's say it does go back into battery. That's also quite a bit of noise. Not ideal for walking because I could scare the deer away. Oh yeah, side note, I'm not including lever guns into this debate because the only lever gun I'd recommend is a lever gun without a safety. Now I say that because I've personally have seen people with lever guns with safeties because you can still cycle it with the safety on. Because when you cycle it, it cocks the hammer back and oh, well now it's dangerous, so we'll make it cycle with the safety. They'll see their deer, they'll pull up, cock the hammer back, pull the trigger, the hammer drops forward, they're like, oh no, there's a problem with the cartridge. Rack out the cartridge and repeat. And they do it until their rifle's completely empty. So unless it's a lever gun without a safety, or with it on safety you can't drop the hammer, I totally don't recommend any lever guns. Now if you're one of those people that like to go in really thick brush, I recommend a semi-auto or a pump action shotgun. It's just better. How to explain it? You can't take a pump action out of battery by accident. They typically have a cross bolt safety, except for on this Mossberg, but the tank safety works good too. It's just nice to go. It's just nice, as you bring it up, you slide it off and then you're into action. But with those close quarters, you're going to want to go a bead sight, or on a rifle like an AR-15 or something, a red dot. Something where you get the maximum field of view. Because let's say you're going through the marsh, you're walking along, something kicks up, and now there's an open spot where you'll be able to see the animal for a second, then it's right back behind cover, an open spot. So you start tracking them with your eyes, you get a good feel for their speed, and then you aim at the open spot. You're going to have to use, they call it trapping. There's tracking, where you follow the animal and you lead it just a little bit ahead and you fire. And then there's trapping, where you're okay, when the animal hits this position, I'm going to just be aiming a little bit ahead and then I'm going to fire. So the animal essentially runs into your projectile. That's very difficult to do, tracking or trapping, regardless, unless you have a very large field of view. So I wouldn't run ghost rings on a shotgun because it obstructs you too much. Or even an AR-15, with your open sights, yeah, these are still fast, but there's just so much material blocking your view, you almost have to look above your sights and track it and then just snap up and shoot. Otherwise it covers too much of the picture and you can't get a good feel of the situation, and you can't predict what the animal may or may not do. Speaking of AR-15s, most of those problems the bolt actions and the sporting semi-automatic rifles have, this completely eliminates. First things first, you can get a... sorry, I'm just stumbling all over words today. A magazine that holds at least 20 rounds. For me, that's very important, not because of necessarily the capacity, but... Say, for example, this rifle. It's got a 4-round capacity magazine, and then you can put one in the chamber. So the most you can actually carry in one spot, all nice and put away, is 4 rounds. So let's say all you do is you take 5 rounds deer hunting. Well, you got 4 rounds, and then you got a 5th one floating around in your pocket that can get contaminated. If you get really sweaty in your pocket, You're out deer hunting, it's like negative 34 below. You got all your deer clothes on. Basically look like the Michelin Man. You get into a car to go to a new location, that one's sitting in your pocket. Your sweat can contaminate that round, making it not want to use. And then what if you're going to be hunting all day? So you go to Cabela's or whatever, you buy a box, which comes in 20. They don't come in 5. So now you have 16 loose rounds floating around. You can keep it in the box, but when you're walking, it's like... I buy 20 rounds of hunting ammo. It's all in one spot. Completely concealed. Or not concealed, enclosed. It's easy. This is all the ammo I'm going to use for deer hunting. All in one spot. It's all nice. I can't go up to the car and, load up all my gear. The odds of forgetting a magazine are poor. It can happen, but you're more likely to forget your box of ammunition than your magazine. Put in the magazine right away. Goes with the rifle. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Another great reason why I like the AR-15 for deer hunting is it's clearly marked, safe, and fire. And almost all these parts are very rust resistant. On your nice blued rifle, not so much. Man, you take a nosedive in the marsh, if you don't clean it up really good after that, this thing's going to be a pile of rust. And you especially got to avoid those cases. They're gray. They fold in 2 halves. I'll post a little picture. And they got slide lock bars. I don't know what's wrong with the foam inside of it. But say you went hunting, it's November. You throw your rifle in the case. January comes around. You crack that bad boy open to clean your rifle and put it away. It will be completely rusty. There's something wrong with that foam. It like traps moisture into the metal. And metal sweats as it warms up and cools off. Your Parkerized finish on your AR-15 is very rust resistant. That's really cool. Another reason why I like these is because they're so incredibly light. This is half the weight of this Browning. It's got all the ammunition in one spot. It says safe and fire. And if you go with a newer model with a flat top upper receiver, you can put on a red dot, allowing you to be able to hunt marsh with just one gun. I mean, yeah, I'd still want a bead sight because that's faster than a red dot. Basically, it'll go like open sights is fast, then next fastest would be a red dot, then even faster yet, bead sight. But there's a lot of advantages to using just one firearm for hunting. Especially an AR-15 because the ammunition's so cheap, you're going to shoot it so much more. The experience you'll pick up on an AR-15 will be incredibly faster. It'll be more because you use it for just target practice and stuff year-round. But anyway, I hope this video helped you at least a little bit, because I kind of rambled on for a while. But yeah, if you're going bolt action, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're going with a caliber you can't find in a semi-auto. There is no accuracy difference between bolt and semi-auto. Maybe once upon a time there was. But semi-auto AR-15s and AR-10s shoot competition consistently. They run right in with bolts. If you're going to go to a bolt, do it because the caliber that you're looking for a bolt cannot be found in a semi-auto. Yes, bolts are a lot cheaper. So if you are on a budget, you can get a nicer bolt gun. I shouldn't even say that because that's not the way anymore. If you want a nice bolt gun, you're going to spend just as much as a nice semi-auto. So I would recommend going with a bolt if you're looking for a caliber that can't be chambered in semi-auto. And if you're going to the really hardcore marshes, I would definitely recommend like bead sight or red dot. Open woods, yeah, you can get away with open sight. And then you can even run like a red dot with a 3x magnifier. So if it's in a really long lane of fire, you can flip up your magnifier, take a nice precise shot. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this helped you at least a little. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave in the comments below what you hunt with, and any recommendations you have for any viewers.